יהיו לרצון, אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי, וגואלי, לפניך. Adonai El Rachum v'Chanun, God of compassion and grace, we are grateful to you for the tremendous compassion delivered through the life, the deeds, the affirmations of our beloved Jerry. Death has taken him from us. Our friends grieve in a darkened world. There is lamentation, there are tears and loneliness. But may they find the loving presence of dear friends, memories, hopes, silly stories, because there are plenty of them, that united them in Jerry's lifetime. Death cannot sever that. The companionship shared with him along life's path, this continues now through the tenderness of memory, through our gathering in this gentle space, and the next one over, and in living rooms all over Cleveland and everywhere, and in the oral hygiene of 3 generations. All affirming the goodness, the happiness, the gifts that are now a precious remembrance. That we gather today in the hours anticipating the prayers of Yom Kippur. It is difficult to approximate the theology of losing a loved one in the hours and days preceding that grave and holy day. V'chotam yad kol adam bo, we say in the Unatana Tokef prayer, everyone signs the book of remembrance. Everyone, no exceptions. We do so with our deeds. Every human being is responsible for their own actions, the moral values of their life, and while a superficial understanding of our Yom Kippur prayers leads us to a conclusion that Judaism might be deterministic, such a view misses the point. Our faith teaches us that each human being is the architect of their life. Jerry, you built quite a life. We gather here and laud it. We will hear blessings and stories of remembrance, eulogies from many in the family. But we also draw kinship now with our Creator through the words of sacred text. Affirming the words now of Psalm 15, we say, Adonai mi yagur ba'ohalecha, mishkan b'chor kodshecha. Adonai, who abides in your house, who dwells in your mountain, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth in their hearts, who don't slander others or wrong them or bring shame on them, who scorn the lawless and honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may, don't retract, who do not exploit others, who are honest and never take bribes, those who live in this way, the way in which Jerry Adelstein lived, they shall never, ever be shaken. Amen. Dear friends, the psalmist also says, Ata imadi, thou art with me, in the phrasing of Psalm 23. And I can only express to you how much it means to this family. I will do so multiple times today, that you are here with them, that you've been with them. They invite you, if you wish, to continue to mourn with them and support them. After the conclusion of our service here at Berkowitz-Kumin-Bookatz, family will proceed immediately to burial at Beit Olam Cemetery and will observe Shiva at 6540 Dorset Lane in Solon. Immediately following burial until 5 p.m. this afternoon. And after the Yom Kippur holiday, they will be receiving visitors at the same address in Solon on Tuesday the 26th from 1 to 4 p.m. and 6 to 8 p.m. They invite you, if you wish to support them and remember Jerry with blessing, to do so with a gift of tzedakah, to be generous as you can and support the important cause of medical research, mitochondrial research, at the Charles Hoppel, MD Endowment at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine. You will see in the obituary the precise address online or to send a check in person. And of course, they invite your continued gestures, love and condolences in the days and weeks to come. I wish to call to mind the contemporary words of Rabbi Chaim Stern at this sacred hour. Chaim wrote, "The light of life is a finite flame. Like a candle, life is kindled, burns, and glows. It's radiant with warmth and beauty. But it fades. Its substance is one day consumed. It is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen, and the flames dance when our lives are full. But at some point, it burns down in gutters. There's an end to the flames. We see no more and are no more seen. But we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into darkness. With our lives, we give life. So something of us never dies. It continues to move in the cycle of darkness, death, light, and life." I feel these meditations, these words help to tell the story of a precious human being in this community, our beloved Dr. Gerald Adelstein. I got to know Jerry only during the last portion of his lifetime, but given his longevity in years, his tremendous sincerity, his keen self-awareness about the values that motivated and moved him, the family simchas and holidays he celebrated, not just on the day, but for months and years after, the path of his studies, his career, his various endeavors, including, just recently, summoning the strength and poise to travel and celebrate his wife Marilyn's milestone birthday in Vegas in July. I feel that wherever a person encountered Jerry Adelstein during his life's long journey, they got the same man. He had tremendous consistency. You didn't forget his ebullient smile or his warmth, even if you only had a brief glimpse of it. I hope that in a way we'll each absorb a tiny bit of his essence, because it's overflowing with decency and goodness. Though he has died, the light of his soul shines on us. However you are participating in this memorial, if you're remote on live stream or here at Berkowitz-Kumin-Bookatz, I want you to realize again how much your kindness and presence and generosity you offer in lauding Larry's life means. It means so much to his beloved bride, Marilyn, who is mourning today for the other half of her heart for over 61 years, and to whom we send our solidarity and our continuous sympathy today. His children and children-in-law are so touched by hearing the stories you've shared, the thoughtful notes and texts, the online tributes you've made. You're truly with them in their grief because he declined and because he has died, but gratitude for his abundant spirit and his capacity to extend his life against the tide of advancing infirmity over the last several years. We all extend our love and affirmation to Marilyn and Jerry's kids, to Robbie and his Debbie, Rick and his Rachel, Howard and his Ann, Steve and his Betsy, Darren and the person Darren is married to. Oh, seriously. Kevin may be the monkey in the middle of what were once, maybe still, 5 raucously noisy and tumultuous boys in the Adelstein household. But I love him. Although I like to kid around with Kev. If I did it more than once, even a couple of weeks ago, when I was sitting with him and his dad as he was waiting to be discharged from a Ahuja, a weakened Jerry gave a half smile and then shot me a quick, protective dad look to say, "That's enough now." Jerry's death calls to mind his late sister Arlene, brother-in-law Larry of blessed memory, their affection and dearness. Today our mourning extends as well to his foster brother David Gottdiener in Frankfurt, Germany, to surrogate brother Michael and Lena Jacobson. You'll hear a few memories from Michael today. Many special and affectionate values cherished by Robbie, Rick, Kevin, Howard, and Steve, and each of their spouses who adored Jerry's bright and open eyes looking towards them. They'll all stand here in solidarity to express their love. Whether it is during this service or at the interment or at Kevin and Darren's home, if you really want to know how Jerry is, even now, imagining him resting in peace and pride, just spend time with the people he admired most in the universe. I will tell you their names. He'd want me to shout them from the rooftops. These are the people who called him Papa. Sydney and her fiancé Anthony, Melanie, Jeremy, Cooper, Jake, Avery, Jonna, Mira, Landon, Lila, Grayson, Ryan, Sander, Shay, and Carson. Got them all? They are so grateful to have had their Papa as a role model and a champion for them as far as he could last into their lives. Marilyn Jerry's home now is in some ways no different in spirit than the one in which they raised their boys. It's an easy place for kids to feel at ease, to be comfortable, to grab a snack, play a game, take a nap, to just be in their own skin. It's not always true in one's grandparents' household. It takes work to make that happen. And though there was nothing left to do to win him back more years, it's quite an achievement on their part that each of them were able to grab time and opportunity to exchange loving moments with their Papa in recent days when only palliative care could provide him wholeness and peace. But truly, he was happy anytime he was in their orbit. Last Thursday, I was sitting next to him with my hand on his left hand and my eyes gazing toward Marilyn when Jerry lifted up his right index finger and pointed towards Sydney with a come here signal. She was sure he wanted him to be served ice chips, and he was grateful for them. But I was watching from Jerry's angle. All he really wanted was a few moments with her closer. On Friday, Sydney sent me a note to be sure I wouldn't forget to say a couple of things. She wrote, "Please know the love that Poppy held for all 15 of us and everyone in his life was all the same. No one was loved more than the other, nor did they feel like they were. And Poppy would prove this value by such statements that could only apply to us, like, hello, my favorite Dr. Grandson, and how are you, my favorite youngest great-granddaughter?" And Sydney adds, "He showed us true unconditional love, what it means to be a kind and genuine person who loves other people." Avery sent me an email the same day, including many amazing memories with her Papa. But the one that stuck out most to her was, this is last year, the Browns versus the Bengals game on Halloween. Avery recalls how Papa, my dad, and my mom all went together to the game. I lived in Columbus at the time. It was very last minute, a spontaneous decision to drive up. But there were some terribly obnoxious Bengals fans sitting right behind the four of us, screaming at the top of their lungs for the first quarter or so. At one point, Cleveland scored and took the lead, and my Papa stands up, turns around, raises his hands in the air, and says, "I can't hear you." Shut them up for the rest of the game. We had so much fun together, which is how I'll always want to remember and cherish. Avery says she feels beyond blessed to have had the most amazing, sweetest, and kindest man in her life for 25 years. And while this has been such a difficult time, it's meant the world to me to be able to be with him and care for him during these last weeks for us. She adds, "I love you so much, Papa. I know you will always be with me. With love, from, in your words, your beautiful and wonderful granddaughter, Avery." Though he died a patriarch and adoring family, it is meaningful to pull back today. Remember that at one point he was just the baby of a family, Arlene's kid brother, child playing outside his first home at 149th and Kinsman. He was born on June 17th, 1939 in Cleveland at St. Luke's Hospital. He was the youngest of the two kids of Mildred and Sanford. When they moved from Kinsman to South Euclid, His dad, Sanford, a builder and carpenter with a big amount of talent and a huge and loving heart that his son inherited, built their house in South Euclid along with homes for other family members on the same street and the next one over. Jerry only had one kind of relationship, one of loyalty to parents, friends, acquaintances, patients in his dental practice, neighbors, colleagues. He was close to his dad, Sanford, and, as I said, took many attributes from his father. He built his own life as a young adult. Jerry would join the same networking lodge as his dad. I'm pretty sure I remember them telling me that it was when he would come into a party there that people started to habitually sing or hum the catchy theme to the old Red Fox situation comedy about a family junkyard, Sanford and Son. You know what I'm talking about. The thread line that runs from his father to Jerry and to all people is one of Jerry's encouragement. His honesty, depth, loyalty, and affection. This animates the story of his closeness to Arlene and to her children and grandchildren who mourn with us today with great affection for their uncle and great-uncle. When his niece Barbara left the house the other day after a visit, she feared she might not see him again. As if he could sense the gravity of her departure and the weight on her heart, though very weak. When she leaned in to give him a kiss, his eyes alighted on hers. And he said, "I love you," with a smile. And Barbara's one of my teammates at Fairmount Temple, and she has long spoken to me with praise for her Uncle Jerry. She knew an uncle who had held and who had achieved life goals that we've all witnessed. Serious-minded, with a sense of purpose. He was ethical, hardworking, and virtue-driven, ambitious, and providing for, and truly be present for his family. Kevin praises the way his dad stood tall behind his commitment to each of the 5 boys, who, in Kevin's words, gave him a run for his money, and also took his money just when he earned it, wanting to be the one to back them through a college education on his dime, to graduate without worrying over debt. When Jerry was finished with his studies in high school in 1957, he felt lucky he could continue with studies at Western Reserve and later pursue dental studies as a graduate student. Learning meant a lot to him, continuing learning. He was a sophomore at Western Reserve, and Marilyn was, I believe, still a high school junior at Heights, when the guy Marilyn had agreed to go out with got the chicken pox, and instead was replaced by Jerry, who on first sight to Marilyn, shall we say, she was not impressed. They went bowling, which it turns out is something that they would later love to do together, but pimple-faced young Jerry showed up in a plaid shirt and a straw hat. Wasn't exactly game on to spend a life with Marilyn. She was pretty sure she wouldn't, but it did turn out he stuck with her. A few months later, Marilyn went with some friends to Cedar Center, Solomon's Deli, where she saw him out on a date. And when she realized she might not be able to have him, Marilyn decided she did want him to belong to her. Against the prohibitive objections of her family members who said you don't pick up a phone and call a man, she picked the phone and called a man. They went steady. She was 17 when they were engaged. More importantly, this college guy was on her arm at the Heights Senior Prom. They've been going steady since. They were married in early June of '62 at the Tudor Arms Hotel in Cleveland. They honeymooned in Florida. Their love deepened quickly. Their energies needed to multiply quickly because they had twins on the first try. Their next child would arrive during the time of Jerry's stint in military service as a dentist, captain on an Air Force base in Denver, and then 2 more boys, all within a 5 or 6 year period, I think. The Clarkwood Estates townhouse they started in was made possible by a VA loan for which Jerry was grateful, and he was proud, as you saw already, to commit his energies and expertise in service to our Air Force. Marilyn focused on the kids, but it seems appropriate to share that Jerry shared parenting. Though he did love going to professional sports teams' games with them, he also loved establishing a dental practice so close to the house that he could come home on the regular and be part of their day-to-day life, their actions, their interactions. coaching Little League teams, sometimes in 2 different games for 3 different teams. He'd help coach since the league didn't want twins to play in the same squad. The Adelstein crew must have had a whole batch of snacks. When Sunday school would let out at Betham, Jerry could be counted on during most fall Sundays to be promptly outside in the parking lot, stick a salami sandwich in their mouths as they got on the road to go cheer the Browns. Marilyn remembers how special and close was Jerry's relationship with her dad, Henry Shaw. I'm told by Kevin via his mom that in his career, Kevin's grandpa Henry had made a lot of dough because he baked bread. But when he grew older in age, he needed extra eyes from his daughter, his son-in-law, and 5 wise guys who called him Grandpa to look out for him as his body weakened. Many husbands would complain about needing to host one of their in-laws. That's just not how Jerry operated. It seems like he went to school for years with a lot of guys who stuck to themselves and their own work and their own passions, but it's like Jerry skipped that class about putting up barriers between people and about making stubbornness get in the way of doing the right thing. When Henry's needs surpassed what could be managed in their home, dementia set in. Jerry dutifully and loyally went often on his own time to keep company with his father-in-law at Menora Park. Robbie describes being proud to share that value, respecting his dad. The other afternoon, he told me about the honor he felt of being able to be a source of help and caring to his dad during the last several years. When they'd go to Browns games, Jerry would pull out his wallet and try and pay, and Robbie would shoo it away, sharing that it was really giving him pleasure to be the one to treat his dad, to give him a game for which he was passionate, win or lose, a meal, and just the fun of walking and talking and being together. I think it was Steve who told me he was always able to call his dad and receive the gift of his patience, his encouragement. Somehow he fit all this in during his times as a busy dentist, taking care of patients, volunteering pro bono at Little Sisters of the Poor, making calls at night to patients afterwards to check in on them, organizing dental fraternity gatherings and reunions. All that activity never blocked Steve's dad from being there for him. He wouldn't allow it. He found ample time to talk to each of his sons or daughters-in-law when they had something important to say. They were the center of his life. They are the center of his legacy. Howard was always impressed with his dad's humility, as proud as he was of building a respected practice and sharing it, being succeeded in it by his son and granddaughter. He'd never correct a stranger or a friend of one of his kids who inadvertently called him Mr. Adelstein instead of Doctor. When I was at the office just the afternoon before he passed, staff members who heard me talking with Rick for a few moments about my admiration for his dad asked me afterwards with reverence, "Have you seen Dr. Jerry?" By the way, Rick, I think you owe me a sticker because I did really well in this checkup. But the thing is that although he'd long retired and then went to work for his son, he said, after 53 years in his work, Dr. Jerry still walks tall at that practice. Rick loved working with his dad, gaining input from him, learning from his dad. And now I kid him a little, but I also know he loves, too, being a dad who works with his child in that same practice, building and growing. This is a way of Rick achieving his goals and adding sweetness to the legacy his father started. They would gladly know and should know going forward that standing on the sidelines cheering on Rick in all his work with the same huge passion he cheered for the Browns is his dad. That only carried a portion of him onto the ripe age when he reached 84. The priority for Jerry was that you live long enough to see dreams come true in personal and professional achievements, not your own, but that of your kids. He adored seeing the honorable characteristics that have emerged in each of his grandkids. That's the best legacy he could grab, and it's been hard. Hard to see him tested and weakened and more frail. But the thing is that to the end, Jerry Adelstein remained spiritually and emotionally entirely available till his final breaths. He knew what was happening. He counted the moments precious. He gave out pride and joy like it was a candy in a special jar. There's a psalm in our tradition which suggests that our lives might last 70 years or 10, maybe 80 years, as did Jerry's. But the same verse reminds us that they pass by speedily. Suddenly we die. We are in darkness. But we count each day precious to acquire a heart of wisdom. That's what he had. And we don't bury a heart of wisdom. We hold on to it. It's a gift to us. That's not just a verse from the Bible. That's the sound of every song that ever touches our heart. Reminds me most of a lyric that comes to mind for a standout guy like Dr. Jerry, who made the most of using his minutes his way. Sinatra famously sang, "I faced it all. I did it all. I did it my way." That's what he did. He did it humbly, with grace, with insight, with good humor, and with class. We should all live that way. Amen. This time I'm honored to call on Jerry and Marilyn's 5 sons to come up here and share some memories about their dad.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out today. To pay your respects to our dad. The sheer number of people here today is a testament to how many lives he truly touched. We're sure each of you has a special memory of our dad, but the one thing we can all say about him is that he was the sweetest, kindest, and most loving person. He was always respectful and humble and treated others the way he wanted to be treated. From a young age, he instilled in us the importance of hard work. The 5 of us have vivid memories of him coming home from a long day at the office just in time for a family dinner, only to continue reviewing his charts and calling patients while he also watched game shows and sitcoms with us. A funny side note, often he would walk through the door, turn around and wrap his arms around himself to make it appear that he was kissing another woman.
As hard as our father worked, he also made time to enjoy life. He rarely missed a Tuesday night out, eating wings, drinking beer, and smoking cigars at the Winking Lizard with Jack and Gary. In fact, they called their weekly gathering the BDAA, Beer Drinkers Athletic Association. They also had a beer brewed with the BDAA label slapped on the bottle. We would be remiss not to mention our dad was a proud and longtime card-carrying member of the prestigious World Tour of Beers. Our parents had to dedicate an entire closet to accommodate the dozens of beer tour jackets he earned. And if you've ever had a beer with our dad, you understand why he was affectionately known as a beer snob. One of the many things that stands out about our dad was his mere presence, from coaching us in Little League to taking us to Indian guides, attending sporting events, plays, and musical performances. And that presence was extended to his 15 grandchildren, making sure to attend all of their activities and milestones, whether in Cleveland or Chicago. Up until the end, our dad found a way to attend various events with each one of us. be it his Brown season tickets with Robbie, dental meetings with Ricky, Cleveland Jewish news events with Kevin, or watching Ohio State beat Michigan with me and Steve every Thanksgiving in Chicago. Our dad's health and wellness were very important to him. He led by example by religiously working out multiple times a week in the weight room and on the running track. And this doesn't include his regular Wednesday round of golf. We're certain that this had a positive impact on how he handled his cancer diagnosis over the last 6 years. Ever since he was first diagnosed, he remained strong and optimistic. He followed his doctor's orders to the T. He rarely ever complained and didn't allow it to slow him down. He made sure that he and our mom did everything they enjoyed doing and didn't allow his treatment to hold them back. He even made sure they went to Las Vegas in triple-digit heat to celebrate our mom's 80th birthday just 6 weeks ago. Thank you, Marcy, Tom, Mark, and Joni for being there with them.
The over-under on the amount of words I'm going to be to say is 5. I bet the under. For the past 3 weeks, our family rallied around our dad. All of our kids dropped everything to make sure they could be with him and let him know how important he is to them, from Sydney, Avery, and Jeremy providing round-the-clock care to the rest of his grandchildren coming together in Cleveland 3 consecutive weekends to shower him and our mom with the love and affection they've always known and deserve. Even to the very last day, our dad made sure that we shouldn't worry about him. They gave me the worst part. He was able to muster a wink, a thumbs up, and other hand gestures the morning before he passed. This was another example of our dad's concern for our family. Mom, you will never be alone, and we'll always be there for the rest, just like Dad.
It'd be really easy for me to say something right now. But this is about Dad. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? Would it be the same if I saw you in heaven? I must be strong and carry on, 'cause I know I don't belong here in heaven. Beyond the door, there's peace, I'm sure, and I know there will be no more tears in heaven. Every single one of us who is gathered here today shares the same common bond. We all believe that each of our fathers are the single greatest champion, warrior, hero in the world. You know what? They are. And so is our dad to each one of us, to our mom, our wives, our children, and each of you and the rest of his family and friends. Thank you, Dad, for being our guiding light, our role model, and the best father anyone could ever ask for. Please cherish the memories each and every one of you have had with our dad, and know that he is smiling and giving us all a thumbs up from above.
I call now on Debbie, Rachel, Darren, Ann, and Betsy. 5 very patient people to come up here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm Betsy. This is Ann, Debbie, Rachel, and Darren. We're Marilyn and Jerry's daughters. And we say daughters intentionally since that's how we've been made to feel from pretty much day one. And when we say day one, we really do mean the very first moment we met them. The way we will always picture our father-in-law is his face absolutely lighting up when each one of us would enter a room. It's like you made his day just showing up. While we would like to think this was just us, His face lit up whenever he sees anyone. The minute you meet him, you feel welcome and unconditionally loved. Not only did he make us feel welcome and loved, he brought each of our parents and siblings into this family as well. To them, our parents weren't just people you make a wedding with. They made it their priority to build genuine and lasting friendships far beyond just us kids. They created one big happy family, all inclusive of the Levines, the Mervines, the Gordons, the Hopples, the Arnolds, and the Rigas. Many times when you marry into a family, it can be tricky transitioning from like a formal name to calling another set of parents mom and dad. But nothing came easier to each of us than finally being able to call Dr. Adelstein Dad. You would think that raising all boys might have made it tougher for him to relate to girls, but he had a special combination of strength and sensitivity, and with us there was no other word than sweet. He was so sweet to each of us every day of his life. We're forever grateful for him for raising 5 boys who are equally as strong and sensitive. He taught them to work hard, be respectful, be kind, be honest, helpful, completely selfless, and so generous, and love Cleveland sports. Watching his boys fight over picking up a check was his proudest moment. Unfortunately, they also got the dad joke humor. Not only did he set a good example as a father, but as the most genuine and loving husband anyone could ask for. Marilyn and Jerry taught us all what true unconditional love should look like. We're so fortunate to have spent most of our lives witnessing 2 people who truly care about the other person more than themselves and go out of their way each day to make the other person happy. Our kids have been blessed with this same gift, experiencing their grandparents as an example of true partnership and knowing it's possible for their own lives. You can rest in peace, Dad, knowing that generations of Adelsteins to come will live their lives in your honor, working hard to keep making you proud. We love you.
Honored to invite Michael Jacobson to come speak about Jerry.
How do you put 50-plus years of brotherly love into 2 minutes? Jerry gave Lana, Mark, Barry, Brian, and myself so much love, caring, and yes, good dental care. I have been fortunate to call you my brother and share your entire family, your parents, your sister, and her family, Marilyn, the boys, their wives, and their families. We will always remember and laugh at the February morning in 1973 when Lana went into labor, and because I was out of town, you drove Lana to the hospital. She always swore that her daughter became our son Brian when you drove through the red light at Mayfield and Coventry. I promise you, Gibba, we will continue to maintain the bonds of love between our families that you established. We shared so many good times together with families at Deek Lodge and friends. These are memories that will keep you alive in our hearts for eternity. Gibba, I love you. I have to also give out one special thank you. In the last days and weeks of Gibba's life, I sat there and watched as two very special nurses and granddaughters, Sydney and Avery, gave Gibba the best care any human being could receive. I will always remember that and love you for it. Thank you.
I'd like to invite those precious 15 people, grandchildren, to come here. Be near to your grandfather.
As my dad said, I want to thank you all for being here to celebrate the life of one of the most beautiful people we were blessed to have known. Papi never let a moment pass where all of his grandchildren did not feel loved more than the other. We were all of Papi's favorites, treated with the same love and devotion, and it taught us how to carry that forward and become who we are today. Our Papa was the epitome of what it means to love and respect not just your family, but everyone around you. Since his passing, various friends have reached out to me, as I'm sure all of my cousins, reminiscing on how he was truly the nicest guy and always made them feel so special and welcome amongst our family. When I look around me, I am overwhelmed with what Papi has given us. The most loving Grammy, 6 dedicated sons with 5 amazing wives, making each of us one of 15 remarkable grandkids. Papi, Papa, Gibba, I know I speak for everyone in this room when I say that not a second has gone by where you have not been missed since you left us 2 days ago. And neither will a day ever go by where your greatness is forgotten. Thank you, Papi, for showing us what true, genuine love and kindness is, what it means to be a good person, and what it means to be family.
Of the many things my grandpa was proud of, I think many of us close to him can agree that his grandchildren were near the top of that list. On endless occasions, I watched my grandpa and grandma emphatically tell someone about how they had 5 boys, 2 sets of twins, and 15 grandchildren. Emphasis on the 15. My name's Jeremy, by the way, and I'm one of the 15 grandchildren. Despite all that may have been going on in my grandfather's life, I've truly never met a man who was more consistently concerned about how someone else was doing. He never wanted to talk about himself. He just wanted to listen to you. This continued even in his final days. I watched as all of us grandchildren walked up to his chair one by one. His face would light up. He'd grab their hand and ask, "How are you doing?" As time moved on and my grandpa lost the ability to verbally tell you how much he cared about you, he found other ways to do so. He'd grab your hand, he'd point at you, gesture a kiss, or simply give you his classic wink. No matter how tired or how long of a day, he continued to care and look after his family. This passion for other people was demonstrated in other ways as he practiced dentistry for over 50 years. Even after he retired, I still felt like he was going to the office. The guy literally could not stay away. Only my grandfather would do that. Only my grandfather would be able to maintain an incredible mustache for all these years. Only my grandfather would continue to be a Cleveland Browns fan after all these horrendous years. There's a recurring theme here, which is commitment. Commitment to his patients, to his sports teams, to his friends and family, and most of all, my grandmother, for over 60 years. These few words are nowhere near enough to describe the impact that my grandfather has had on my life and the lives of so many of us sitting here today. But in just a few words was all he needed, such as, "How are you doing?" This man, so people called Gibba, could make you feel like the most important person in the room. Although there will be grieving today, I urge there to also be some celebration for a man that touched the lives of so many people, a man that I can proudly call my grandfather. I love you and will miss you more than you know, Poppy.
It goes without saying that our Papa was one of a kind. He lit up any room without having to say a word. Not only was he the cutest man, but he was equally, if not more, sweet, kind, considerate, and loving. He never complained, never argued. He simply wanted those around him to be happy. He was the most selfless individual, far more worried about others than he ever was about himself. He truly made the world a better place. Thank you to my Grammy and my Papa for giving me the most incredible family. Because of you two, I have been blessed with not only one amazing dad, but 5. And because of your 5 boys, I now have not one, but 5 moms. I have not just 2 siblings, but 15 insanely awesome brothers and sisters. We truly are a village. Because the past few weeks have been, I can't see because of my tears. While the past few weeks have been beyond difficult for us all, knowing that Papa was surrounded by pure love every single second of his last few weeks here with us is the most amazing feeling. I will miss Papa's smile. I will miss him grabbing my hand and giving it a kiss. I will miss every single thing about him. Papa, I will honor you by teaching my children to be just like you. I will raise a family just like you and Grammy raised yours so that we can continue to carry on this one-of-a-kind legacy. I love you so much, Papa, and I promise to continue making me proud. Love, your Tiger.
This past summer, we had the privilege of spending an entire week together in Michigan for Papa's 84th birthday. During this week, we told countless stories, laughed a lot, and cherished every moment together as a family. For those of you who may not know, for every birthday, the Adelstein family has a tradition of sharing our favorite thing about the person. And I think we can all agree that one of the highlights of the week was going around the dinner table the night before Papa's birthday and sharing each of our favorite things about him.
As we went around the table, the sentiment of everyone's memories embodied Papa's unconditional love for every person in his life. Papa had the incredible gift of creating and sustaining unique relationships full of love with every single person who had the pleasure of meeting him.
In the spirit of our personal favorite Adelstein family tradition, we would like to share our favorite thing about Papa. All of our favorite memories and qualities about Papa have shaped each of our dads into the most selfless, sensitive, and hardworking people we know. Every Ohio State touchdown, every corny movie they get choked up over, and every moment in our lives that they care so deeply about, we know that Papa is there within each and every one of them.
To Papa, thank you for all of the invaluable lessons that we will hold with us for the rest of our lives. Thank you for instilling in each and every one of us the importance of putting your family before everyone else, no matter what. You have navigated the world with a sense of positivity and caring nature that we all admire more than you'll ever know. Every single person who came in contact with you couldn't help but feel your unconditional love. All of us grandchildren are fortunate to have the most kind, thoughtful, and loving grandfather, and for that, we are forever grateful to you for shaping who we are today. When we were on that trip in Michigan, one of my favorite stories was when we randomly did assigned seatings one night so that we could all mix up who we were sitting next to, and I randomly got put between Grammy and Papa. And throughout the whole dinner, they fed each other over me, and they held each other's hands. And so we had to make a rule to keep them together for the rest of the dinner because nobody could sit between them.
Now, there is no doubt that Papa has had an impact on every single person in this room, and we could not be more grateful to him for giving us the most amazing role models to look up to every single day. And most importantly, Papa's long-lasting impact will continue to live on through our children and generations to come. Now, we would like to share a special poem that really captures the love that Papa had for every single one of us in this room.
On those days when you miss someone the most, as though your memories are sharp enough to slice through skin and bone, remember how they loved you.
Remember how they loved you, and do that for yourself. In their name, in their honor, love yourself as they loved you. They would like that. On those days when you miss someone the most, love yourself harder. Thank you.
For those of you who don't know, my name is Melanie. This is my brother, Jake, one of the 15. As I was putting this together and replaying all the memories, stories, jokes, and moments of my papa, I realized a common theme. Very embarrassing and cliche, and I'm 1,000% everyone in this room is about to make fun of me for the rest of the day. But I think the best way to sum up what life was like with Papa and what he portrayed to the world was a saying that could easily be hung up in Grammy's guest bathroom. Live, laugh, love. Our Papa spent every single day of his 84 years on this earth truly living. Between the Eagles Club, dinner every weekend, Browns, Cavs, Guardians games, Wednesdays at yours truly, going to Aruba, sitting at a blackjack table, scooping ice cream at Menorah Park, having cigars and beers on Tuesday, working full-time for 50 years, going to continuing education after work, so much more. He was the most social person I have ever met. Our birthdays are only just 4 days apart in a few years, and the year I turned 21, Papa turned 77. I'm sure everyone in this room knows who had more of an active social life that year, and it was not me. And at all those places, he was the most liked man in the room. For those of you who don't know, I also became a dentist, and Papa helped me get a job one summer. It was not in dentistry, although I'm sure he had a good word with my boss. But actually, it was at the Winking Lizard before my first year of dental school. I came in the interview dressed in my nicest business suit, resumes in hand. My soon-to-be manager at the time, Kevin, took one look at my resume and goes, "Adelstein, you related to Jerry by chance?" Of course, I said yes, and he goes, "Nicest guy ever. He's here every Tuesday." And that's the moment I knew I had the job. He really was just loved everywhere. Not only was his social life one to aspire to, but he also spent thousands of hours supporting his children and his grandchildren. He was at baseball games, soccer games, plays, recitals, graduations, holidays, birthdays, everything in between. For having a calendar booked out until 2028, he always made time for every event, big or small. I would be remiss to not mention his partner in crime, Grammy, at all these events as well. Grammy and Papa are the people that will always show up and support you, and I don't think many people have had the fortune that all of us Adelsteins have had. So he lived, and he lived fully. He also laughed or spent most of his time making everyone else laugh. I would bet that every single person in this room has not been able to have more than a 5-minute conversation before he told a joke or teased or chirped his little bird chirp. I am positive that all Adelsteins have PTSD over the first time Papa asked you how your birthday cake smelled before you ended up with icing all over your nose. He was the biggest jokester, and he truly loved making others laugh. If you told him you had a cold, he would ask if it was gonococcus of the epis. He used the term cockapitsy Mitch mouth every day in his vocab, and none of us are really sure where that came from. He was always winking or chirping or telling hilarious jokes to us over dinner. One dinner, we're all talking amongst ourselves, and there's Papa, trying to flip a spoon into a cup for over 10 minutes. He was the goofiest guy in the room, and it's so evident in all 15 of his grandchildren, as we have all inherited that goofiness. So he lived, he laughed, but most importantly, he loved so much. This is evident every day in those who have ever met him as friends, colleagues, other dentists, servers, and all those he interacted with. He loved his patients so much, and it is not only evident by the way that they talk about him every day, but he even wrote it in his notes. I am so lucky to be able to work at the same desk my grandpa did for so much of his life. Reading his notes on patients was almost like reading his diary. They were so personal and showed how much he cared. He treated patients like they were his own family, and he did amazing work. Almost all my fillings were treated by my papa because I knew he would never hurt his grandchild. I would tease him all the time that I was his favorite grandchild, and he would always correct me and say, "You are my favorite 28-year-old female grandchild." And I truly believe it. I don't think he had favorites at all because he just really loved us all so much and so evenly. It's almost like he took his heart and split it up into 15 perfect pieces and gave it to each of us. He did the same with his 5 sons, the same with his 5 daughter-in-laws, the same for his extended family, and for those who aren't blood related, but just as much family. I know people throw around the term unconditional love, but I truly believe that's what Papa had for all of us, unconditional love. He was proud of us when we succeeded. He was still proud of us when he failed. He reminded us that not every day can be Christmas. He was there with 100% support for all the moments we needed. This unconditional, even love is something I think we all have in our hearts from him. The only person I think had an extra beat of his heart was obviously our Grammy. He loved her more than words, and everyone in this room knows that. So here's to our Papa Jerry's full experience on this earth where he lived, he laughed, and he loved so much. Now that he is gone, it is our duty to keep his live, laugh, love nature alive in our daily lives. I'd like to end this in the most Papa way I know how to, with one of the greatest gifts he has ever given to us, his famous ice cream joke. A woman and a man walk into an ice cream parlor, and the woman goes, "Hey, I'd like some chocolate ice cream." And the man goes, "So sorry, I have vanilla and I have strawberry." And she's like, "Oh, I really, really want chocolate." And he's like, "I have vanilla and I have strawberry." And she's like, "But I really want chocolate." And they're going back and forth for a while on this. And he goes, "Fine, you know what? How do you spell the van in vanilla?" And she goes, "That's really easy. It's V-A-N." He was like, "You're a genius. How do you spell the straw in strawberry?" And she thought for a second. She goes, S-T-R-A-W. He goes, "Wow, very smart." And he goes, "How do you spell the fucking chocolate?" And she goes, "There is no fucking chocolate." And he goes, "That's what I've been trying to tell you." We love you so much, Papa.
That, my friends, is what a 15-piece heart of wisdom looks like. We rise for the El Male prayer. El Male Rachamim, שוכן במרומים, חמצי מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת יושב באר בן שמעון ומלכה, שלחה לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים, ויתרור בתרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר, Amen. God, full of compassion, eternal spirit in the universe, grant rest now, deep, abundant rest in your sheltering presence to Jerry Adelstein, who has entered eternity. God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen.
Father, gather gloves and you're going to have some stuff up to the casket, please? Proverbs, you're going to lift up on the casket. We're going to walk towards the doors.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. Guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Thou art